Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Best Practices webinar. We haven't had one since the summer. We know you are very busy during the summer getting ready for school opening, so we took a couple months off, and we are back, and we're back with a bang. This is part one of a two-part series, Building a Top Transportation Team. We have some very special panelists. You can go to the next slide, McKaylee. We have a great back-end helper, McKaylee Norris. Thanks so much, McKaylee. My name is Rick DeRico. I'm the Director of Public Relations at Transfinder. And we are our best practice webinar. They're monthly, and really they're open to specific issues in the industry, and we want everybody to feel free to feed into this. It's not about Transfinder, it's about transportation, and it's about building your teams, your cultures, and really everything that best practices incorporates there. We want to glean the best ideas from anywhere in North America. Well, I guess we could go around the world. And there's a nugget, one thing that you can get from this that you can bring back to your operation, bring back to your district. That's the goal of these webinars, which we started in like April of 2020, and so we have not stopped doing that. Today we're going to focus on the team, the leaders who their teams won the Top Transportation Teams Award. It's a very aggressive competition, really. It's in our second year. This is the second year winners, and we have half of the winners this month, and then the second half will be in October. I'll share more about that later. And I'm going to ask all the panelists to hop on board. Amy, Director of Transportation at Wa-Nee Community Schools in Indiana. Diala Laffoon, Director of Transportation at Waterloo Central Schools here in New York State. That's where I'm located. Todd Livesay, Director of Transportation at Franklin Township Community Schools in Indiana. Yes, Indiana is well represented. Antonio Civitella, the President and CEO of Transfinder. And before I forget, I'm going to hand it over to Tony for a minute. I want you to know that this is recorded, so you hear something really good. You want to make sure you share it with your team. You want to share it with your superintendent or your school board. These were all, we record all of our best practices webinars. You can find them very easily by just going to transfinder.com. At the very top of the page, there's a YouTube icon there. And so it's posted, it'll probably be posted tomorrow. That's number one. Number two, this is a very interactive webinar. We want to hear from you. So there's a question section there. And so if you have a question to a specific panelist or to all the panelists or to Tony, pop it in there. If you hear something you like and you go, oh, we do the same thing, or you have an idea, you want to answer the question that I'm asking the panelists, please do that. We will go to that as soon as we see things, we jump on it. So if you've ever been on any of our webinars or anything that Tony's done before, he will stop the middle of his PowerPoint presentation to address a question. Sometimes that drives me a little crazy, but he does it because he really wants to make sure that nobody leaves with a question unanswered. Right, Tony?
That's right.
So Tony, I want to you're the one that was really that had the brainchild of this idea of creating the Top Transportation Teams Award. Can you just share a little bit of the backdrop, why you did it, and anything else you want to share about it?
Well, we always talk about as a Transfinder. By the way, hello everybody. Happy fall. It's officially not summer anymore. I think we're gonna have some nice weather here upstate New York today and the next few days. We actually have not had any rain for like 2 weeks, which I'm good with that, but sorry for those farmers out there. I'm not getting any rain, but either way, excited. Could feel the fresh, cool air in the evenings, which is nice. But good question. Why top transportation teams? This really started about 15 years ago for us at Transfinder. There's always like, Transfinder is this private company. You could do things differently. You could do things because they're more of a public company, public sector, like schools. They really can't do things like private companies can. And I can tell you, I've been drinking that Kool-Aid for almost 30 years. But honestly, the past several years, I don't believe so. I think there's a lot of things that public companies, public sectors could do like private companies. And one of the things that we did 15 years ago, we realized, we were at a certain point. We plateaued, Transfinder plateaued. We were trying to get more people, hire more people. And there was this best places to work awards that everyone does these things, especially as a private company. And like, hey, let's just go for it. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, we clearly did not win anything, but they provided us some feedback. And the feedback was a little bit tough. Some of those things, do you approve culture and the performance and your manager? There's even things about the CEO. Some of them were not great. I look back, it's like, wow, that was brutal. But give us an opportunity to make some changes because, we think we're doing a great job. We break our hand by patting ourselves in the back, but so much better when it's anonymous and employees really rate the company and the managers and everything else. So we did it, and we tried a few times, and we didn't really know if are we getting better. All it is, we didn't win. We didn't get the top transportation, or actually at that point was best place to work. And so, but we kept working on it. Really, we as a private company purchased this data. It costs money to participate, and it costs money to get data back. So I tell you, that's what we've been doing personally, and it's benefiting. Why do we want to do this? We thought there's some huge opportunities here, because when you look at what we're trying to do, obviously we want to grow the company. We were trying to get more engagement from employees. We really want to see is what can we do with the culture, right? We want to make it a magnetic culture that people want to gravitate to Transfinder. And at the end of the day, how do we maximize performance out of everybody? So we started doing that. We've had a lot of success, and it's just one of those formulas that Transfinder is part of success. But so a few years ago, of all things going on, clearly school district now, during COVID, very hard to find drivers and everything. Well, maybe we look at what makes a school, because some school districts have no problem hiring drivers, and it's not that they're paying them more. There's something. Well, what's going on? Well, some of them have a significant better culture as a team compared to other ones. Well, let's identify what those things are. They're able to produce more, less complaints for parents. The employees are more engaged. They give you feedback. Like, well, let's get this going. So a couple of years ago, let's create our own, really a way to promote best teams out there. So we created top transportation teams. And man, this is now year number 2. We have another set of winners, and it's all mathematic. I got to tell you, it's all numbers, and I'm a true believer. And Rick, you talked about the scale. Typically, there's like a 1 through 5. The problem with an odd number of scale, like the agree or disagree from 1 to 5, or even really it's an odd number. There's a problem is there's that neutral, that middle line, right? 1 through 5, the middle is 3, and the problem with that is that we want people to lean either agree or disagree. If you give you 1 through 5, or really odd number, they'll choose that neutral, just say, nah, I'm right in the middle of the line. Well, that doesn't help anybody if everyone scores middle of the line. So we go to this even number, whether it's 6 points or even 10-point scale. So that at that point, you're forcing people to pick agree or disagree. You guys, there's logic around that, because we want good data. And Transfinder, I always say this, we want the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I want to make some changes. And this is where past couple of years, Rick and everyone here on the panel today, wow, these men and women have such great stories about what made them successful. And then it's clear why these guys end up winning and get these nice awards from us that we presented. So I'm excited. I think I'm talking way too much. Let's hear from them to know exactly what made them successful. Again, their team scored, and the numbers came out. They had the highest score compared to everyone else. But this year, I want to definitely mention, we doubled the number of participation from our from really clients and prospects, and then number of employees. even that skyrocketed. So it's going the right direction. I can't wait to hear the story. So
Yeah.
take it from here, Rick.
Thank you so much, Tony. Yeah, and if you go to toptransportationteams.com, you can learn some more about the program. There's an email address just to make sure you get your name in the queue. Very soon we'll have the enrollment form available. But if you want to just go on there and actually send a note and get it saying, make sure I get that when it goes live, the enrollment form, you'll be first in line. A couple of distinctions on the people on the panel. Amy Rosa, her school district, Wa-Nee, was the top. They had, you have top transportation teams, and then you have the highest vote getter, the highest scoring team. So Amy's team was the highest scoring team among everybody. And Todd Livesay, his distinction is they had a repeat. So he's been around the block twice now in this. He's going for 3. He's already said that. He's put his stake in the ground. And Diala, you have a distinction as well because you really are the first person to have gotten the feedback form. Right? You need to know that. You're a pioneer. We're in the midst of sharing that with everybody, but you were able to, we'll get into this because you talked about how crucial that feedback was. You shared it with your team. Like Tony just mentioned, I'll never forget when we did not win Best Places to Work the first time that I had started working at Transfinder. Tony brought in all the leaders. We all sat around a very long boardroom table in our conference room and Tony had sent the report to everybody on this leadership team to be ready to talk about it. So we didn't get it cold. We had it in advance and then went page by page, painstakingly, line, what can we do today to move this number? That maybe somebody just needs better lighting at their desk. I'm just making something up. And then what areas are going to take a little bit longer, onboarding process or whatever it may be. So anyway, so Diala, you can talk a little bit about the feedback you got and how you're going to utilize that. For starters, I'm going to go through Amy, Diala, and Todd. That's just how my screen shows up. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your district, size of your district, and then we're going to go one more round where I'm going to just ask you to brag about your district. In fact, why don't you just do that while you tell me about your district? Tell me about the size, how many students you're transporting, and then this is your moment where, like people pull out their pictures and they show their grandkids and they brag a little bit, and then everybody just deal with it. Brag about your team. Go ahead. Amy, I'll start with you. Tell me about yourself and your district.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It really is an honor. We're excited about it. Our staff got really excited through this process. I think our story starts and ends with just really, really hardworking, good people. And it's really easy to help them do their jobs better, which we all know the job is really, really hard to be out there in the bus. I sat in the seat. I understand it. And so top to bottom, the support for the driver is probably if I had to guess, I haven't seen the results, but if our drivers had to say this, they feel supported, whether that's through training, all that, all the way through support, even with student behavior. So we are a rural district. We serve 2 different communities. We transport about 3,000 students, about 55 vehicles in the fleet, but 34 on the route every day. Really, really good people to work with and work for. I think I hang my hat and I work for them to help their job get a little better. So thanks again for the honor. We appreciate it.
How long have you been in the district, Amy?
I've been here almost 20 years, my second time. I drove here back in the late 90s and I was gone for a bit and came back and came in as an assistant role for 1 year and then the director actually, I think this is my 19th year. So this is really cool too, because we're always looking ways to bring back some life to the program, and this program has definitely helped.
Love it, love it. Diala, tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, and then go ahead and brag a little bit.
Sure. Good morning. Yeah, I've been with the district Waterloo for it'll be going on 5 years in February. We have about 43 staff, about 22 routes, transport about 1,100 students between Rochester, New York, and pretty much Syracuse, New York. We have a pretty large area that we cover with our in and out of districts. My team is amazing. We battled it out through COVID. That's how we got to know each other. Great ideas, great collaboration with each other. They will help each other, train each other. There isn't our break room is collaborative. It's fun, maybe a little too fun sometimes, but it's it's a good atmosphere here. We have a really good time. Staff are not afraid to bring up concerns, and I'm not afraid to attend to those. So that's one thing that has really been really huge here, and empowering and promoting them is probably one of the biggest things we try to do with them. So
That's awesome. And those are strong words there, empower and promote. Tony just wrote a note. It was in the e-news last night, actually, e-news that all of our clients get, and it was about empowering. You know, it's a very powerful word. Todd, repeat here, repeat offender. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your district, and you know, you get to brag twice as much. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Todd Livesay. Again, thank you and Tony and everybody at Transfinder for all the support. I know Amy and Dee already seen this, but this award means so much to your staff. We're lucky because we get to pick up the trophy, but it means so much to them. So I can't thank you enough for your support. We have 11,000 students roughly in our township. We are in Marion County, which is the county Indianapolis is in. So it's a large school district. We're in the southeast corner, so we have an interesting, we actually still have farmland out here, and then we have very urban areas too. So it's a great mix of people. The main thing that we have going for us is really the support of our community, the support of our admin team at the upper levels, superintendent down. I have a staff of about 150 people, and they are all extremely engaged. I've been here 7 years. It took a while to kind of get to that point. Kind of goes back to hiring the right people and taking the time to hire the right people, making sure that we have positive, engaged employees at all times. Really the support for the driver, support for the monitors, support for the routing team, everybody top to bottom. That's what got us here a second year. I can tell you they already want the third one. We kind of laughed about it, but they are hungry for that third one, and I'm very proud of them. It would have been easy just to say, hey, we kind of like we talked about the New England Patriots winning that, you know, Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. That wasn't good enough for Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and it's not good enough for us. We want to keep on winning, and I love it, not for myself, but I just love it for my staff because it is such an unbelievably stressful job, but they're here for the students, they're here for each other, they're here for the community, and that's why we're here again. And I just can't want to also say I work with Amy on the Indiana Student Transportation Association thing. That collaboration between directors is everything. I learned everything from people like Amy. I've only been here 7 years, so thank you, Amy.
Only 7 years. That's how far are your districts apart from each other? I should have done the math on that. How far away are you guys?
A long way.
Couple hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. In Texas, Tony, that's nothing, right? A couple hours is like in the next neighborhood, you know. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. You know, at the heart of all of this, I think, is this idea of culture. You know, do people, you know, some of the questions that were part of that survey. And by the way, I just want to encourage again all the attendees. Feel free to jump in. I'm watching it. Tony is too. McKaylee is. So have a question or a comment or something, please jump it in. I'm looking in there. So 7 years, Diala, you said you've been there 5, I think, and 19. So did you inherit a culture that was already strong and you're building on that culture? Or were there some things that you had to do early on, say, there's some issues here I got to deal with? And if so, tell me a little bit about that. I want to just open it up. I don't want to make you go down the line here. Tell me a little bit about the culture you inherited.
So when I started here, they were with an interim supervisor at the time. They had a previous one who'd been here for a while, and you know, ran a pretty tight ship. And the interim who was here was very interim, and so things got kind of, you know, loose and too comfortable maybe. When I started, I had started on February break. We had a week of school, then we had the shutdown. So my first address to my staff was, "You got to go home." So it was very interesting. So that was the kind of the first thing I sent them home, or actually I taught them how to clean bus seats. Then I sent them home is what ended up happening. And then we progressed through delivering lunches. A lot of that delivering lunch process, you got you got a whole different experience. You know, doing something outside the norm and building, you know, kind of a core team. We had a pretty good core that worked there at the time, and I saw a lot of the potential with the team, the group with the team, when it actually came down to taking care of students. You saw that come out during that time. So then that gave me kind of the blank slate of this is what we can build on. It's there. How do we empower that? How do we work with that to get it so that when we get to the day by day, if whatever came back then, we didn't know. If we got to the regular days, can we get it to a point to do that? So that's kind of how my transition was coming in, and being able to see what was there and then pretty much bring
Build
it
from
out.
scratch.
Yeah,
You had kind of a clean slate a little bit.
a little
right?
bit. Yeah.
Amy and Todd, anything you want to share about just what you inherited?
Yeah, I came into a really solid foundation, good benefits, good health insurance benefits and pay. I think that what we had to work on first and foremost was we had to raise our professionalism up a bit. And I kind of stood on a soapbox if we're expecting the world to see us more professional, raise our pay, give good benefits to bus drivers. We also need to do that. And we had a really good staff to start out with, but we would just built in new ideas as we moved along. Tony, I always laugh because some of my veteran drivers have been here almost 40 years. We're like, what is this? What is she giving us? Why is she handing us route sheets? We do our routes. We figure this out. So my first job here was to bring data into my office and start to create those more efficient routes because we were kind of all over the place. And I think they still laugh a little bit about that I kind of came in and was like, yeah, new way, new process. But I think data through Transfinder, even in our building, helped increase all of our efficiencies. And it also helped us support the driver more because we understood what they were doing. And then it helped us, save them time and some energy out there as well.
Tony, you want to add something there? You look like you were leaning in. Well, Amy,
I put my mute in. Sorry about that. Well,
that's okay.
I tell you, I think you're always going to have, especially, I actually starting to hate this term. We've always done it this way, right? That's like, we've always done it this way. And so how do you change that mindset of we've always done it this way? And so, and of course, if the senior people are completely against what you're trying to change, it's not going to work. You almost want to make sure that they came up with a new idea. I know we've always done it this way, but we're going to try something new. Because if you're trying to do that, oh my gosh, how many times have we all tried to do that? Because you're going to have somebody that's been there for such a long time, and their number one response, we've always done it this way, right? I mean,
Amy, how did you get them to embrace that you don't have to create your own routes? We're going to do it. Did you have to do a little PR, like smoothing out the messaging on that a little bit, or?
Well, lots of PR. We actually brought them into each route too and said, okay, what are you doing and how can we help you improve the route? We pay on contract day rates, so saving them time was a benefit to them. They weren't losing any pay. So, and to your point, I mean, I'm an old timer nowadays, they say, and Todd said, he learns from me. I'm learning from them. And if we can't take that same example from what we dealt with our staff, also myself, I have to be able to learn new things too. And so it's really fun to collaborate with directors, especially like Dee and Todd that have been here maybe less time, but have fresher perspectives.
That's great. Todd?
I think when you bring those people in, and I don't mean to talk over anybody, but when you bring those individuals, believe it or not, you are empowering. They have a lot of experience. They think there's nothing to change. Why are we changing anything? Well, the word change is just frightening. I think it's, it gets everyone nervous. Don't use that word saying, hey, we want to get better. How do we get better? Help us. And once you've empowered somebody, that's when the good things happen. But you're going to have to go through some pain, right?
And sometimes also, even like with the newcomers that come in, I think about this. The one thing that they bring, I think, Amy, you kind of alluded to it, is they may not know, they may not have all the hang-ups of what didn't work in the past, other ideas that may have failed, and what failed 10 years ago, it's a different world today. So yeah, maybe you try to, but they also have this thing that you can't manufacture, and that's a fresh perspective. So they can see like, why are we doing like, oh,
Mhm.
we always go down that street. Yeah, but like there's a new cul-de-sac around, whatever. It's like they have a fresh perspective just by virtue of being new. They may be new to the area. They may be so very good tapping into that. Todd, your culture, what was it like when you came on board there 7 years ago?
It was interesting. It was time for change for sure. They've been through some turmoil. Um, to give you an idea of how kind of the interview process went for me, and I thought this kind of helped me in the way with the more veteran drivers. Um, I was sitting down with 6 of veteran drivers and a director. They interviewed me, so she had brought them in to get their perspective on it, and they wanted me, which was great. They wanted, unlike probably any other district I can imagine, because I don't know that I would take this approach, but they wanted and they needed somebody at the time that was completely fresh. um, I don't want to bore you with my resume, but my resume is I was a pilot and a railroader. I came from working on the railroad directly into this. Um, so completely, totally different perspectives, although a lot of transportation experience, which it was unbelievable how all that it's all the same. It really is, especially when it comes to safety and processes and things like that, logistics. So didn't have the greatest to begin with. And Dee brought up a great point. One of the things that really, it's going to sound crazy, one of the things that really helped our culture was during COVID, the appreciation of the drivers. The district never hesitated. They said, how are we going to pay our people? And they never, ever hesitated on taking care of the bus drivers and taking care of all of us. So that helped a lot in itself. But really, just having a fresh perspective, I was truly embraced. The first thing I did was I had a spreadsheet of all the drivers' names and all of their and monitors' names and their bus numbers. And I literally would study that constantly. And I would drive down the road. I would say, oh, I'd see that's bus this, that belongs to her. And probably, I'm not as sharp as I was in that, but I would say within 4 days, I had everybody's name memorized.
That sends a
So
message. That sends a
just,
loud.
yeah, so that was just little things. It's little things I think that really create. I knew I was not going to be able to blow things up and make things the way I wanted them right away. It took a long time. The professionalism is the main thing. I have to be professional in the office environment. And again, our image is what we're putting out there is what people are seeing. Obviously, our customers are our parents and our students. And if we're not acting professional, we don't look professional, then they're not going to trust us with that precious cargo. But again, we have all that support. But it was interesting, an interesting start. It took a couple of years, but we've really had a good run here.
That's great. That's awesome. I want to get to a poll question. We're going to talk over it, so we're not going to be able to see you for a moment. But I'm just going to, and Tony alluded to this earlier, this idea that this was originally going to be a multiple answer type question. So you could pick all of these. I think probably most people could do that. But I'm going to ask our attendees here to tell us, what do you think your team members care the most about? Now, we know that they care about all these, okay? So just don't feel like if you pick one, it doesn't mean they don't care about the safe transportation of children. We know that they probably do. I hope they do. But what do they care most about? Pay and other tangible incentives, those days off, they have flexibility. They love the people that they work with. They feel their opinions matter. They feel that they will receive recognition when they do something great. And then again, the overall mission of the operation there. While we do that, I'm going to just ask our panelists their thoughts on what you think, and you know this because, and Diala, I'm going to ask you first because you actually have the survey results in your hands. Those are going to be distributed for all of those of you who participated. We are in the midst of getting these all ready to go. Diala, the expression, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Diala's like, when am I getting it? When am I getting it? When am I getting it? So, which was very good, by the way, Diala. And so he was able to distribute this to his team and talk a little bit about the answers that they got. So Diallo, you answer first, and then we'll go to Amy and Todd. What do you think your team cares most about on this list here?
So I would say, based on the data, the mission, keeping the main thing, safe transportation of students. That was 9.9 for us out of 10. And that's something, I think the actual question was, safety is a priority at my department / company, 9.9. I couldn't ask for, I could ask for a 10, but 9.9 is pretty darn high for us. So that was number one for my group.
Very good. Oh, that's great. Amy, how about you?
Oh, I agree. The safety component is definitely high on their list for sure. I heard it once said that we're in 100% industry. You wouldn't want to have a doctor deliver babies and only get 98% of it done well. We don't want to drop 2% of the babies they deliver, but we also are in that 100% category. I mean, it's every stop, every kid. It's very detailed, and there's a lot of stress that comes with that. So I heard that process of safety embedded in there, which is it's critical because that's how we get to the end of every day and have that deep breath. Everything went well. Everybody got home safe. I think second on their list would be, I think what the results are showing, pay, incentives, flexibility. Here at Wa-Nee, we've recently started to enjoy, I love the people I work with because we just built our first facility where we actually have a break room and kids, my kids, bus drivers can come in and hang out and see each other, get to know each other more. I commented in our pre-meeting that we had drivers lose some family members, and the thank you cards that came back were addressed to their transportation family. And I thought that was really cool to see us being referred to as their additional family members because we're all in it together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how about you, Todd?
I would say 100% that the mission is the safety transportation of the children. That would be ours. I'd be very surprised if that came back different. I'll be interested to see what that looks like. And then followed up by just loving the people they work with.
That's great. And as you can see, the results here, pay is, according to the responses, was number one. Again, I think that probably everybody feels all these are important, but we've kind of forced their hand. Loving the people you work with, coming into work and liking those that you're working with, definitely makes a difference. And then feeling like your opinions matter. Very good. We can go back to the screen of the panelists. Thanks so much, McKaylee, for bringing that up. So what do you think, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but what do you think contributed specifically to your results, to your team winning this and being the culture that you are? Do you have a person on your, like some companies you have like that one person who's a social butterfly who makes things happen? My mom actually was working in transportation for a while, Catholic Charities. And she came in and she goes, "What do you guys do for people's birthdays?" And they go, "Nothing." So she owned the idea of, I'll bring in the birthday cake for the next person's birthday. And then that person, she kind of created something and then made them do it from that. And then that next person, they're responsible for the next person's birthday. She goes, it became the biggest hit, just a simple thing like that. So is it a person that helped create something? Is there events that you do or give me a sense of what it is that made your team get the results that you got on this survey and really become a top transportation team? I'm going to start with you, Amy. I'm just going to ask everybody in this because you all have an answer to it. Amy, Diala, and then Todd. Wrap it up with that.
Oh, I think I touched on it earlier. I think that our staff needed to feel supported. They can kind of be out there on their own, on their route. They feel a little isolated. And the more they felt that we understood, number one, the job and how hard it was. And we also understood, or they understood, that we had their back. I've always told my drivers, I'll have your back until I can't. And so I've stood for good benefits and pay and being unified with the district. I call it the road between the bus and the school, trying to bridge that gap, keeping them in communication with their principals, letting them know things about the district that maybe they miss because they can't attend to the 3 o'clock district meeting. Communication, keeping us all in the loop like we are part of the bigger picture of the district. And I think they're feeling that now, especially now that they got a building. They feel a little bit more
Oh, that
honored in
helps.
their position. So
I heard somebody say in one of our panel discussions a while ago that like an assistant superintendent told the transportation director, and obviously he's being a little bit facetious, but when it came to like transporting kids, they had zero clue. And they go, isn't it just like a magic button? It just kind of happens, and that was like, they said, they felt taken for granted, really. And so that person was working really hard to we were using the expression, getting a seat at the table, and it sounds like you all have a seat at the table. Before I go to you, Deella, I want to read a comment that we have from an attendee. Shaquille says, pay is a focus for us, but we are also a close team. We have a donation fund to support staff members that lose loved ones. We also are an active in team parties. We have a group that they do puzzles and they play dominoes and stuff. So that's good. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Shaquille. Okay, Deella, what was that magic bullet for you and your team?
Can I comment on that survey a little bit?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that, kind of like what the gentleman just mentioned, if your staff isn't coming to you with safety concerns, it might be already implemented in them. And so now the next thing is going to be that, so they might care about it, just it's not coming, they're not coming to the desk with it. That might be why you're getting those responses the way they are. So maybe that's kind of why that survey is looking that way versus, what really they're feeling, because they're not voicing it out because they're already competent in it. So that could be one of those things. For us, one of the biggest things we did was bring assistant or additional help into the office. That allows me to kind of pay more attention on what's going on the road. One thing we had, just myself and a secretary. I pushed for a dispatcher. That helps support the drivers more. A lot of what I try to focus on is what we do to support the drivers and monitors so that they can spend time supporting the students. And that's something that's big. As far as here locally, I mean, we do a lot when it comes to any type of sickness or illness, deaths in the family. We do a lot of that. Our group is pretty tight knit. We do have a group here that hangs out in the break room after the day, and they kind of talk about their day, and there's usually laughing and stuff like that in the back room. It's kind of interesting. Creating that culture so that it's not a competition. I've talked about this before. We had a trip assignment process that really bred a lot of competition between drivers, a lot of back watching when it came to the drivers. Getting rid of that relaxed a lot of the situation here at this bus garage and allow people to kind of more focus on their day-to-day routes, focus on more, that safety point of it, where they weren't focused on, is everyone being treated fairly or things happening fairly? So that's something that has been really big here and has really changed a lot here in Waterloo.
Very good. How about you, Todd?
Yeah, with us, it's really all the little things. We try to have celebrations every week. This week it's homecoming, so it's easy. Last week we did ice cream week. We were having ice cream every day. Whatever it takes, right? Again, when you have somebody, we have a bereavement process. If somebody has an immediate family member that's had a death in the family, they get a really nice set of wind chimes that we order up, and of course a card. Any hospitalizations. That's another one. I have somebody in the hospital. I'll tell you, one of the first people in the hospital is this guy right here. I will just go. I'll go see him, and so things like that. And then empowering the drivers. One of the things I noticed, especially when I first came here, is that they really had that I'm just a driver mentality. And they kind of felt like that. And that's been a really good thing to turn around. I am an absolute dedicated person to professional development. I wish I could send all of my people to all of the workshops at STN and NAPT and the state associations things. But at least my internal staff gets all they want of that. Once a month, I focus on something, and all the drivers, again, it's hard because I have 150 people here. I can't do little tiny workshops, and I can only afford to have a guy come in so many times or set up so many sessions. So once a month, we have professional development. First month of school was school safety, This month was customer service. Had a professional come in for that and give them true professional service, customer service training, not just me standing up saying, hey, this is what I want you to look like. Listen to this. This is a professional from the outside. This is how big companies work, and this is how you look professional. So really empowering and making sure that they get all the training they need. I am absolutely and completely blessed. Don't listen to Amy. I don't want anybody to steal her. I have one of the best trainers. She's my social butterfly, and she is absolutely incredible. And she really takes the new driver from start to finish and makes them feel so welcome. So very blessed with that. And as is all my staff, but the person that spends the most time with that new employee is going to be your trainer. So they're going to spend most of the time with them. That's just the reality.
But did you inherit her or did you hire her?
I hired her. Yeah, she started out as a driver. Yeah.
Very
So
good.
again, I love to grow people, and she's somebody that has really grown. And that's another thing too. When you hire people, we all fall in this bucket. We see somebody that has a CDL, and we're like, yes, where's a stethoscope? Let's get them some keys. Let's drive. When somebody comes in and interviews with me, I dedicate a lot of time to that interview. Most of the time, and the reality is I probably don't have time for it, but I do it anyway. That interview usually takes an hour to an hour and a half. I get to know them extremely well. First conversation, by the end, I know who their kids and families. I know their kids. I know their situations in life. I literally take them on a tour of at least the building, and sometimes I throw them in the Kubota and I show them a tour of the campus. When they walk out of the door, before they're actually really hired, they feel like they're already part of this building, of this family. There's always people here. We're a small building with a huge staff, so there's always people around. So when that new person comes in, there's always somebody that's already talked to them before they even made it to my office for an interview. So that is just so important, and it's easier said than done because we're all so desperate to get people to work for us and get people to do this very hard job. So it definitely starts with the hiring and growing people, but all the empowering, the celebrating. You just gotta keep all those little things coming, cooking, and never give up. Always keep the pedal all the way down. That's what we've done.
The spending that much time on an interview process sends a very loud message that you don't just slip in the door to work here. Like you said, you have a heartbeat and a CDL, you're good to go. You've already set the expectation level. You're also showing them you care about them and all that, but you're also saying, you're not quite in this job yet. You got to show it to me. And we talked yesterday during our dry run about Transfinder, a little boasting here, but it's harder to get into Harvard. We do the math on how many applications we get, resumes we receive, and then first interview, second interview, and then actually get hired. It's actually easier. And this is just Tony's very big into data and numbers. This is just not making up a number here. It's literally the admission rate at Harvard is almost twice the admission rate of getting a job at Transfinder. Sends a message. We're glad you're here. And you're also here with a very distinctive purpose. And you have the skill set to help move the mission forward. Tony, anything you want to add?
Well, listen, it's once you have that culture, it is so hard to build a amazing culture. But I think everyone knows it's so easy to lose it. It is so easy to lose it. And so it's constant work, and I mean work, to keep that culture going. So you could bring somebody on board and you don't even know it. And they could actually disrupt so much. And even, we talked about TO yesterday. Remember that? I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and when they brought T.O. in, I'm like, maybe the Dallas, they maybe don't know how to figure out how to make him a team player. He's awesome, very talented athlete, very talented, but he was just not a team player. It was everything about you didn't throw it better. You could have done a better job throwing it to me. You didn't throw it to me. That's why we lost. I mean, it was that kind of stuff that, and we could talk about interview. There's a term that we use. Don't fall in love with a candidate during an interview. Don't fall in love with that person, because it's so easy to fall in love with somebody Because then at that point, you're already biased. You're already, oh, this person's gonna be great. They're like us. Well, they'll fall in love with that person so quick because you want to make sure maybe I like that person, but how are the other people going to accept this person? And that's so hard as managers when you're interviewing. It's so easy to fall in love with somebody. Oh, they're like me. Well, maybe someone like you is not what you need for the team. But so don't fall in love.
That's good. That's good advice. That's solid. Amy, you look like you were nodding in there a little bit. I want to make sure I'm reading you right. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I just agree with all of that. I mean, when Dee earlier said something about bringing more staff in, it just resonated with me because that's what we gained here as well, is more staff, and it freed me up to be able to actually focus on the small things. And I as much as I look back, I think, man, I should have just forced myself to do that, because that's the foundation, and that's where you can start to build your team up, and then you can start to that'll start saving you time in the end for the other more, not more important, but important things that are right in front of you on a daily basis. You can get so wrapped up into the stress of this job. I think all of us can. It's just really critical to stop and be in the moment with people where they're at and listen.
Be
And
in the moment. I like
yeah,
that. That's good. Diala, so everybody who's in attending here, they know that you guys don't work in a vacuum. They know that it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And so I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that you're dealing with, and still how do you keep that culture and how do you continue to build forward? Because every one of you has already expressed you want to win this award next year. So you want to build on what you've already done. Diallo, you're facing some challenges at your district. You talked about some changes at the top. Explain a little bit about what's going on and then how you respond and what that might be. I think you used the word, instead of me saying challenges, I think you corrected me and you used another word. What was it?
Yes, we're facing some new opportunities in our district.
Opportunities.
We've got a complete changeover in admin. We've got a new superintendent, new assistant superintendent, new business manager, a handful of new principals. We have a handful of new discipline MTSS coordinators. So we have a whole new process coming forward. We've got some new changes, some more technology coming our way. Which, one of the things during our time when we were, with an interim superintendent, a lot of this top transportation team award fell during that time. And so I was trying not to let it fall in the cracks because I was, very concerned that, hey, we're not getting boasted about this. We're wrapping up the school year. We got to get this out before everyone's home. Let's do that. But I think one of the biggest things now is that we have this. My team can be on this boat, can be on this raft during this time that we're going through these changes, and they know that their team is solid. We always joke we're on an island over here. We have our own little spot. We're off campus, and it's a gift and a curse. So we can kind of jump back on our island when we want to, but if we need to get out, we can do that too. And we've got this now kind of as a cape to show everyone that, hey, we're okay. Superintendent comes in, that I can sit there and say our department's something to worry about. We've got it, that, our department, we don't, and that's concern for a superintendent sometimes to come in. So that's been kind of what we've been working with. There's been some changes and some challenges and things like that, but communication, letting staff know what's going on, getting that. Actually, our first, we had a barbecue this beginning of the year to celebrate the award. Superintendent was present during that, our new one. So that was a good time for people to talk with her and meet her. So that's the kind of stuff that we're able to do that. But yeah, we're trying to keep these opportunities, so that everyone's available for them and we can get through them and go forward so we can get that plaque. That's what we want, is a plaque next year. So
well, and the plaque is the one that is what the lady to your right, if I'm looking at this correctly, Wa-Nee, who got the top, they were the top vote getter. Other challenges, Amy, Todd, that you guys are dealing with and needing to deal with, proactively or however?
well, with our new garage, I mean, obviously people are around each other more, so some interpersonal conflicts have come up. we really work hard on making sure people understand to go to each other when they have an issue, and if they need help, then to bring me in. And we have a bus committee too, that if we have, it's never gotten to that point, but that's, I mean, there's always room for some miscommunications, things like that. But we have a lot of good people who really want to do the right thing. So when there is miscommunication, we're able to clear that up.
That's good. And you all have mentioned communication in the past, and that's the thing. You can't let that vacuum stay, because people get, when there's a change, Tony mentioned people don't like change, and, their minds can wander. They can go and fill in the blanks with what they think might be happening, might not be happening at all, So just addressing those concerns. I asked in a survey question earlier to you folks before you were on the stage with Tony and Reno about lessons learned, maybe things you've tried that worked, or some things that worked. Maybe you had mixed success in changing your culture. Todd, you mentioned in this survey, you said, most of the changes that you have implemented work, but changing culture is a gradual process, requires patience and intentionality. And you talked about, so tell me a little bit about, that approach, and maybe if you have something specific, tangible, like we were going to go to add this new process, or, this approach, and then how that looks in terms of intentionality.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, culture does not change overnight. It's just got to be really, you just have to have that ultimate patience. It's only going to happen kind of an inch at a time, and one person at a time. So really changing the culture, to be perfectly honest with you, to me, is a lot about bringing in the right people and finding a way to have the wrong people move on. And then the right people will bleed on to the other right people that are already in the building, that are just kind of neutral, if that makes sense. The biggest culture change that we dealt with when I got here, we were on paper timesheets. And again, we're talking about people that aren't necessarily used to using technology just by nature. So we're on paper timesheets. Most of the drivers would come, or monitors, really all the staff, they would come in with their timesheet. What they were supposed to do is write down the hours they worked each day. That's how it should work. Most of them were coming in, and I'd say, hey, your timesheet's due, it's Friday. They would stand right in front of me and just write 6666666 all the way down the timesheet and sign it and hand it to me. Well, the problem with that is most of the time I knew they were working more than they were getting paid for. They were working more than 6 hours. There's no doubt about it, or whatever their hours were scheduled. So the biggest culture thing for us was actually moving to an electronic time clock. And you want to talk about change. We had people here for 30, 40 years that all of a sudden have been doing it with pencil and paper. And now every single one of you is expected to walk in, swipe that time clock, and then you got to get on an app at the end of the week to submit your time. That was hard. And it doesn't seem, we're obviously all pretty good with technology, but that was a complete revolt.
But they're getting more pay, right?
They did not realize. And that's what fixed it. We beta tested it for from spring break to the end of the year with, I think, 15 drivers or something like that. And then we rolled it out in August. And I mean, I'm telling you, people were ready to go on strike or whatever we want to call it and leave. But then after they realized the first month of school and looked at their paycheck, they thought, holy cow, I'm getting paid for my time now. I can't believe I was working that many hours and not getting paid for it. So
that's awesome.
Anything technology is always hard for anybody, but that was the biggest challenge.
Good. Anybody else have anything that comes to mind? Something you tried that maybe you had to make some adjustments to it, or whatever? Okay. Diala, you're smiling. What do you got?
I was smiling about the time card thing. We are heavily reliant on paper here, the district in general. We just moved to a absence requests online, And we're working through some of those concerns, some of those, if I got to request time off, I'm just putting in my 2-week kind of deals.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're working through it. And this is one of those changes that's coming fast. And I think ushering that through with the changes, things like that, it's 2024. I mean, we got to get
Well,
to where
we have, we're, we have our parent app and we have our driver app, Wayfinder, and, you're dealing, these are the same folks that don't want to use, and now we're saying, hey, can you turn on this tablet? But then once they use it, right, Todd, once they got into it, how easy or what was it for them? And now they probably like it, I'm
They
guessing.
wouldn't have it any other way. Yep.
Exactly. So it's over that hump of dealing with the grumblings and all that, and then eventually it's like, oh man, I wouldn't go back. So, how have now you're Todd? I'm going to go to you for a second because you're wearing the Top Transportation Team's shirt boldly. Deanna, I think you mentioned something about banners or something, and I know that there's a parade coming up, and you're going to have. So, is that you, Todd? Your team's going to be marching in a parade or something?
Mhm.
How are you leveraging? Hang on. Eric wants to know, Todd, real quick. What time clock are you using? Do you know the brand or?
Front Apple Track Frontline.
Okay, there you go. See, Eric, we respond as quickly as we see these things. So I'm going to start with Amy, go down the line. How are you leveraging winning a Top Transportation Team award? And I'm saying this because all these attendees, I'm guessing, yeah, they want to have great culture, but they also want to win the award so that they can see the value of winning this award. So how are you leveraging this? And this can be kind of also part of your final takeaway because we're kind of wrapping up. We got about 4 minutes to go. So how are you leveraging it, and maybe a top takeaway for anybody listening to bring back to their office? I'm going to start Amy, Deala, Todd, and then Tony, you can share your final takeaways.
So at the end of last year, we started hearing a lot of like so many days left of school, only so many days left. And we kind of tried to flip that and say so many days left to make a difference. So we started out the school year with 180 days to make a difference. And then when the award came on board too, we were like, okay, we're going to have to live up to this. So let's not let our guard down. Let's stay strong on our safety protocol. And as we're building our team more and more, as far as relationships, we're just sort of hanging our hat on, hey, if we're going to be called the top, we better live up to it.
I love it. I've heard people say, like, instead of saying like, to your kids, do I have to do this? Say, do I get to do this? Do I get to clean my room? That didn't really work for me, but still the idea there about wording can change a lot. Deala, how are you leveraging it? And also just a final takeaway. And Eduardo, who's on, how do you register to be a top transportation team? Just go to toptransportationteams.com. There's an email there. Just fill that out. That'll get you in. That'll get starting the process. Sorry, Deala, go ahead.
No problem. So we're putting the logo everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on our documents. It's in our emails. We've got our jacket contract is up this year. We're getting jackets, polo shirts. There's a tracksuit. It's got all the logos on it. It's got so drivers are getting all this stuff. They're excited for it. We've written a letter to New York State DOT, got denied. We can't put it on the buses, but we can get on the Suburbans, all that fun stuff. So we're trying to get that. We've got some magnets we just got done. So we're excited about it. When staff comes in, new staff come in, we're part of the team. This is it. Interviews, that comes up. We never had like an official welcome to the transportation garage sign. We now have a banner. We have about 3 banners that we use. And they've got the logo on it. They've got our district logo on it. And as you come into our bus garage, it says that you're coming into a top transportation team. So we're definitely
Awesome.
doing a lot of that. One of the key takeaways I would say is make that access easy for your staff. So we use personal emails for our staff to get them signed up to do the surveys, just because our school email could be a little bit tricky. And that helped us a lot with that. And we told them what we're doing and what we're looking for.
Very good. Very good. Todd, quickly, because we're really running close, but I know you can give it to me. Give me your top taquaway and go ahead. How are you
Top
leveraging it?
takeaway. Yeah, I was at the end of last year. I was very worried because we were a top team last year. Quite honestly, you don't expect to win twice, right? my drivers and monitors and staff did want to win twice. I'm very blessed. They are good with technology. We're able to use that, make sure they know how to use their email, all those things. I'm sure that helped. We had a good response, I'm certain. But just like Dee said, everything we have has this logo everywhere. We have banners hanging. Tonight is the homecoming parade. The drivers will be walking with the flag.
Love it. Love it.
Through the parade. So thousands of people in our community are going to see our bus with that sign, and they're going to support it. They're going to know we're one of the top teams. And again, I tell people, hey, they just send me to Reno to pick up the trophy. It's your award. It's not mine. And they truly feel like it's their award. And they definitely want to keep, like I said, keep that pedal down. They want to continue, and they know that to continue, they have to keep the culture up, which is a hard thing. Keep the culture cooking. Don't let anything bring it down at all costs.
Very good. Michaela, can you go to the next slide? Tony, can you give us your top takeaway?
Well, listen, Todd, congratulations. 2 times in a row is amazing. 3 times going to be that much harder. And obviously, as we've been promoting this more and more, there's going to be a lot more organizations want to win this. But you guys are doing the right thing. You're taking this in the next level. You're trying to promote what you just accomplished. Really, the award didn't really do it for you. You've already had this team, so it just proves what you've been doing is great. Just continue doing what you're doing. Get feedback and make sure you want everyone to know this, how good it feels. How good it feels to win, right?
That's
what
it.
A good feeling.
That's it.
Remind everybody, don't you feel good? Let's win again.
Success breeds success. That's a good one, Tony. Quickly, if you have a story, we always want to share it. Go to mystory@transfinder.com. We may even ask you if you want to be on in a future webinar or a white paper or whatever. Always looking for the best advice that we can get to be better at what we do. And mark your calendars. October 24th is the part 2 of this great discussion, and we'll bring in the remaining winners of the Top Transportation Teams Award. That's it. I want to just thank everybody for attending. Want to give a special shout out to our panelists. Thanks so much for coming. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.